All right, it's your UrAvgCoach podcast. I'm Anthony Woods. Here with me, I have Chris Parno from Minnesota State University. Super excited to have him on. I'm going to have him kind of introduce himself, and then we'll get started. So, Chris Parno, introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, definitely. I'm Chris Parno. I'm the associate head coach for track and field up here at Minnesota State, up in Mankato, Minnesota. I coach all the sprints, relays, and hurdles up here. This is year 14 for me now here, and we're kind of upon it, man. This is week 12 already of our fall training, and obviously a designed kind of more recovery week with the holiday and everything coming up. So. But no, then we'll come back and hit it already here for a meet next week. So, I was born in Mankato, actually. I didn't grow up
Nice.
here necessarily. We lived in kind of southern Minnesota. I lived out in Oregon for some time, kind of growing up, and then went to high school in Wisconsin. So kind of been all over the place, but ended back up here, after college and being a grad assistant at another place before this. And yeah, I was lucky. I got the job at 24 and been here ever since. So.
Wow, 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And that was I graduated college in 2010, and then I was a grad assistant right away after over at Augustana College, or it's Augustana
Yeah.
University now, in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And then right after that, I got the job here. So definitely was fortunate to have a great experience as a graduate assistant and kind of get thrown into it a little bit. And I had kind of known this job was going to open up for a little bit that kind of year previous, and that there was going to be a position opening. So kind of just worked on that as I could that second year of a GA, because there's always some uncertainty with, jobs opening up and different prospects, and doing a bunch of applications with little to no experience and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was fortunate to be here, and it's been phenomenal setup, and there's a reason I've stayed so long. So
That's awesome. So, I guess let's start there then. Okay, you're grad assistant. You know the positions, opening up. What's your thought process? Because I'm kind of in that same realm right now in my career.
Mhm.
I knew that the head coach position of the high school was opening up. Um, the Hall of Fame head coach was retiring. I got hired as a teacher at the school, and I was like, okay, well, I'm an assistant right now, at the school I'm at. But I don't want to go to a different school, which is the rival school, and make a lateral move.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, I want to shoot for the head coach. So like, what was that thought process for you as a 24-year-old?
Yeah, I mean, so I went to school to be a teacher, Phi and health, I guess it was I student taught in Belize, so we were I did half of it in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, and then we did the other half of it. Basically, it was down in Belize, close family down there in a village, and teaching at one of the local schools, and just travel around having a really good experience. But I kind of through that was like, man, I don't know if I just want to jump into kind of a long career of just teaching right away. And I had another semester of college to finish up some of the classes for the minor and everything that I had. So I went back, and then it was just kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I had worked at a summer camp for kind of 4 summers in Pennsylvania, kind of a sleepaway camp I'd be out there for like 2.5 months each summer. So I was like, hey, maybe I could just move out there and kind of figure it out or whatever. But luckily, a coach I used to compete against in college was the coach at Augustana at the time. And he called me up and talked about what a graduate assistant was and kind of that process. And I was like, man, it sounds like a phenomenal opportunity. It was like, I was kind of thinking about maybe not going right to school again right away. But obviously, luckily took that job. Again, it was one of those situations when you're a graduate assistant, like you just, there's some nerves and stuff, but I was fortunate that I was just kind of given the hurdle group and said, hey, this is what you're going to coach, and worked with some of the horizontal jumpers as well, and kind of co-led the rest of it. I mean, we were kind of the two that were leading more of the speed power groups outside of the throws, but no, I was a heptathlete and a hurdler in college, and so I just kind of dove into it a little bit head first. And, I really went to kind of the professional development route of things. Like I was doing all the certifications, and just that's where I kind of picked up a lot of the more coaching knowledge and more of the training theory and stuff behind, coaching track at a high level. And you meet a lot of great people. And So then after 2 years of having a great experience there, it was one of those things that, again, you're applying to 30, 40 jobs, and you're just trying to just, hey, I'm going to keep this going. I didn't know if it was going to 100% be an option here. Like, obviously I knew I was going to throw my name into it. And I was actually out at camp, working that kind of final summer that I was working at the camp, and luckily got the job, flew back for an interview, then came back to camp. And like a week later, found out I got the job. And then I was like, hey, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So I was super excited about it because I was obviously familiar with it. I mean, I ran at a school that was in the same conference as Augustana and Mankato, so you're familiar with it. And, knew it had a lot of those things that I really wanted, a state school with a lot of majors that was pretty affordable and had facilities and all this other stuff. So, so then at that point it was, man, I got to take advantage of this opportunity. And at that time, it was just full bore with the coach's ed stuff, doing all the different levels of USA Track and Field and the USTF CCCA Academy, and just kind of diving into that. And after a decade of doing all those, now I teach a lot of those classes now. So I kind of feel that need still there. So yeah, I mean, I guess it was more so a product of, I didn't know if I wanted to necessarily be a teacher after doing 5 years of teacher's ed and learning how to become a teacher.
Yeah.
But then track still allowed a kind of atmosphere to, or an avenue, I guess, to still educate. It was just kind of more on the track and, about all the events. And yeah, and I enjoyed recruiting a lot. I worked really hard at it as a GA, and then it was just about creating relationships and figuring it
Yeah.
all out from there. So
That's awesome. What a journey. It's
yeah,
got
no,
to be, yeah, it's got to be, I guess, a benefit though that you were familiar with the area too. So it wasn't like you were just like jumping ship and going to this completely
yeah,
different location. So
for sure. And, I think it was, I was never afraid of kind of branching out and going places, obviously being down in Belize, and we had lived out, kind of grew up a little bit for some time in Oregon, and, obviously working at the camp in Pennsylvania. Like, I just enjoy traveling and doing all that. Um, so I don't think that would have been a limiting factor because I was just applying to anything and everything that would pop up. But yeah, I mean, we have a little bit more of a sense of home. I never assumed I would ever live in Mankato, but,
yeah,
kind of life is crazy. So it kind of just came full circle,
yeah,
and yeah, now I've kind of entrenched myself. I got two kids. I got a wife. I mean, I got both my parents and my in-laws in town now. So
that's
uh,
awesome.
yeah, no, it's really turned into a pretty awesome thing. And Minnesota has always been my most long-term home. So it's obviously nice to be back, and definitely love the state. So
Yeah. So when did you start becoming so um what's the word? I guess when did you like start being so open to being like on social media? Because that's how I found you. I found you,
yeah,
I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But I still wasn't like myself really on there as much.
hmm
But then I started realizing like, oh my God, there's a lot of information on here. There's a lot of different coaches like giving
yeah.
us, the free game per se. So when did that become a thing for you?
Well, I think I've always enjoyed social media in general. I mean, just connecting with people, and I think it was a way for me to kind of build our brand and kind of build it up. Obviously, I always wanted to kind of show what we were doing up here, and I kind of have always kind of have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, and just saying, hey, we've had some phenomenal athletes here, and early on, I was very lucky to have some very talented athletes that kind of jumped in and trusted me to help them with the journey. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much great stuff out there on social media, and I think you can share all the stuff that I share and kind of talk about, and videos and all that kind of stuff. It's all knowledge that I haven't come up with myself. It's just what I've learned from other people or what I've taken from other coaches, and I think it's no matter how much you share, you still have to have a kind of your own uh, coach's eye, your own ability to be able to do it, and so I think there's a lot of good things to share. There's also a lot of like open-ended stuff. Like, hey, there's this video. We do the strat analysis stuff. We do this. It's like, yeah, but you still have to know how to apply it afterwards and all that. So I think
Mhm.
it's um, expanding kind of my knowledge base and my kind of, I guess, cohort of coaches that I know, and just again meeting new people and the recruiting side of it is huge. You get access to a lot of things. So I think it's a good way to just display what you're doing. People then start to know what you're doing, learn about the school, learn about the program, see the history of success, and then, hey,
Yeah.
now the DMs are full with people that are interested in coming, or at least when you call somebody up from, God knows wherever they're from, they at least know the name or know something about the school and the program. So, um, yeah, so I enjoy that side of it for sure. So,
Yeah. That's awesome. I feel like I was a little late to the game. I feel like I'm still playing catch up.
sure,
Uh,
yeah,
but I thanked you before we started, and I'll keep thanking you because um, you were at ITCA a couple years ago,
oh yeah,
and you were in Illinois, and I was like, oh man, like I've been following him, like I gotta go to
yeah,
this
yeah,
session,
yep.
and then um, I'm people don't believe me, but I'm kind of shy and I don't feel like bothering people. And,
Oh,
there's so many people that are, trying
right.
to get your attention and stuff. And you just happen to be free for a second. I was like, hey, like, um, I saw this one thing on there, on your slide,
Mhm.
is there any way that you could like send it to me or something like that? And I shot you an email and you sent it right over. And I was like, man, this dude's the best thing ever. Like,
Well, you got
I
to
was
catch
so
me at the right
grateful.
time. Sometimes those sit in the inbox a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, I got to go. That's
Yeah.
I try to. I mean, I really enjoy. Like I said, the education side of it. That's what I kind of got into and was really interested in to begin with out of college. So, I really like going to the clinics. For one, it's just networking, and you can meet a bunch of great coaches, and
Yeah.
down the road, you might be able to get some people from them or whatever. I just, again, I like having connections and just, hey, there's this state. Oh, I know this coach, this, all these different people. Um, but yeah, no, I mean the clinic stuff is great, and I've had such a great experience going to like our national clinics and learning from or gaining access to coaches that I wouldn't just cold call or something either. And I think I've just it's my part to, hey, I would always want to give back, and I enjoy traveling and seeing new places, all that stuff too. So that's cool because again, it is I go to those with like being open. Here's these presentations and like let's talk about it, and usually it's like after the last one, the next person's coming up, so it's just you got to kind of
Yeah.
hustle and chat with people. So, um, but no, that's cool. That's cool that we connected back then, and that's a
Yeah.
great clip too. It's like that was the second time I'd been there. I went got
Okay.
invited down pretty early, I guess, probably about a decade ago, and then yeah, they had me back, and now it's a great clinic for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was super grateful that um our coach always took us to ICA and you were coming and I was like,
Mhm.
damn, I gotta get my shell a little bit.
Well, I
I gotta
gotta
go ask
say,
this man.
and I hope I come back. I mean, like I said, that's been one of the better clinics. I mean, Wisconsin and Minnesota have great clinics. I'm doing the Iowa clinic for I think the third time now. Coming up here in about 2 weeks. So, and then I'm off to teach level 2 for USA Track and Field, and then teaching a master's endorsement down at the convention with Coach Cable over at Harvard. So it's just
Wow.
been busy a couple months here, but it'll be fun to have a very track centric December for sure. Well,
That's awesome.
definitely getting a little break as well.
Yeah, I know. That's why like I'm trying to talk to as many coaches as I can now because I know that come 2 months from now we're all gonna be swamped and loaded with our own stuff.
We definitely have our more open times for sure, but
Yeah.
um, I'm glad we could finally find a date here to get this done. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much again. Super excited. So you were a hurdler
mhm.
yourself. That was like your shtick, right? Like that was like the thing
Yeah, I
that you
mean, I
would
went to
probably take pride
be
in the most.
yeah more in the 400 hurdles. That was kind of where I found some success, and then I started doing the multi event too. We were unique that our conference multi-event or heptathlon, decathlon, we used to do the pen back then too, was 2 weeks before the team champs championship for our conference. So I was like, hey, I threw discus in high school a little bit while hurdling and doing this other stuff, like I can learn these other events. So I started doing that just for a way to kind of score some more points. And but yeah, then it was more so 400 hurdles, 4x4s, that kind of stuff, and whatever else we kind of needed at the time. So
That's awesome. So I guess I'll ask you for some advice as a coach. I have
mhm.
a girl. Uh, she runs about 59 in the 400 hurdles,
Mhm.
58.
Mhm.
She's pretty talented. Um, for some reason, I see that a lot of 300 hurdlers in boys, but she had the opportunity to run 400s at nationals. The first 2 to 3 hurdles, like it's like it's rough. It's rough. I don't know if it's a rhythm thing. I don't know if it's like you're pressing too hard. Like, what was your approach to the 400 hurdles?
Yeah, I mean, I think initially it's, I guess, kind of my cheat code. I guess is it's not even much of a cheat code. It's you just got to be able to hurdle well with both sides, with both legs. Because then I think there's less of a dependency on like prescribed stride pattern and all that kind of stuff. And obviously,
Mhm.
you have to get used to running a certain pattern, or again, let's just say classically more guys are going to run 15, 16 strides, in between. So like you should be able to knock out, if you're running 40, 41, sub 40, you're knocking out, 15 step patterns, but this could totally change for somebody that's 5'5" versus 6'5", so that
Yeah.
it's very individualized to leg length and what they can cover. Um, so, I mean, I think it's just obviously a rehearsal thing once. I mean, I don't, early season, we'll always use kind of shorter hurdles. We'll pull out we have these different PVC height hurdles that we've made. And so when you take out the apprehension of, the hurdle itself, then you can focus a little bit more on just carrying speed and momentum through each hurdle. So I think that's been important. Something we've done early season. We do a lot of just rhythm drilling in general, drilling both sides. And if somebody really needs to kind of catch up that other side, we'll just drill specifically that side only. But yeah, with the first couple, it's obviously dealing with the idea that you're accelerating, bringing in a ton of speed, and then you're trying to leave the ground. So I think you got to definitely rehearse the patterns, but don't get too stuck on a pattern as well.
Okay.
Because again, I mean, if you have this dialed in and you're very robotic about it, and then there's a nice 25-meter gust of wind down the backstretch, and now you're
Yeah.
getting the hurdle, it can go sideways pretty quick. So I think there might be a little more consistency in the 300 hurdles starting on the straight, but in the 400 hurdles for sure. I mean, there could definitely be some things that kind of throw off those first couple. So, but again, confidence in both legs, both lead legs, I think is the easiest way probably to try to smooth out some of those rough edges that can come with the first two or three. Because then when fatigue hits, I mean, especially in the 400 hurdles, when fatigue hits, you certainly are going to have to be able to go with both legs. Unless you're like, look at Carson Wilhelm. I mean, he's pretty automatic going 13s. Then he cuts down to 15 if he needs to at the end. But, he's also a little bit shorter. And so he has that big old stride that he has. And, handled it and practiced it and all that kind of stuff too. So, but definitely different when you're working in the high school ranks of just confidence. So I would start with both lead legs, obviously drilling those, and then start with lower hurdles. I mean, you don't need to go over a 30-inch hurdle right off the bat,
Got it.
even if it's just a little 6-inch wicket, just giving them something to kind of pop up over so that you can count steps, take video, and they can look at it after the fact. So,
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
mm-hmm.
So you're at the Division 2 level.
Yeah.
I ran at Division 3. Um,
Where'd you run at?
Carthage College. I was
Oh,
actually recruited by Concordia St. Paul, though, but I went away to go play football, and then made a last minute decision to go and run track as well.
gotcha.
So I would have been somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
Um,
That's about 80 miles up the road. Nothing too crazy.
yeah, but that was 2014, 2015,
Okay.
and times are way different now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how has trackflation affected you? And like, I guess as it pertains to recruiting, I guess coaching, like how have you had to adapt? How has that affected you?
Yeah, I mean it's just I think the expectations and the kind of mindset that you bring to training and recruiting obviously has to be raised as well. I think no matter what era of track, what it took to make nationals when I was in college is way different than what it took now or even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And part of it is, we've had a part in kind of pushing that obviously as well with some of the top national out champ type kids we've had. I mean, I've had some kids break some all-time D2 records, and a couple kids that have been, the fastest collegiate, no matter divisions and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, you're always trying to push it, but then you're never actually like you're satisfied and you understand how cool it was to be able to coach those kids for a certain amount of years and all this. But then when they're done, it's like you got to have the next one up, and so you got to be working And that's where I think the recruiting side of it becomes so important, because obviously you got to get faster and faster kids. And then part of it is just, there's been an influx of international students. There's been some better understanding of just transfer rules and older athletes coming in and so on and so forth. So that's always going to push it a little bit. But, I think the schools that are routinely kind of pushing it are either programs that have some advantages in recruitment and it might be easier to get the kids in, or they have more aid or scholarship money or whatever, or it's the schools that are kind of in that middle ground that can coach really well, and can really develop kids. And um, I'd say we're a little bit both. I mean, we're funded pretty well on one side, could use some work on the other side just from a funding level, but have affordable school and some great facilities. So I think we can be in the conversation with a lot of people, but I also think across the board, our staff has done a very good job at developing and just, again, understanding what it takes to be successful and understanding the training theory and training science is necessary to be able to carry out those plans. And then, you certainly got to get some motivated kids, because it's 30, 39-week seasons, 37-week seasons, 38, 39, depending on how far you go. So, yeah, I mean, it's been cool because now you think, it used to be really fast like a decade ago. It's like, okay, well, now we now you have to do this. And man, it used to only take this time to make nationals. Like I remember there were years that, you had an athlete on the female side that would run 1180, 1170 high, and they'd be like, oh yeah, they're in the national meet. And great, we're going to have that experience. And now if you don't go 1140, like you're probably not even going to make it, So,
It's
um,
insane.
yeah, so it's been good. I mean, it's good for the division. And I think, there's less difference between the top of probably D1 and D2 than there has been in the past. I think there's just way more depth, obviously, at the national level. But
Mhm.
in these D2 kids, whether it's they just chose to be in D2, or maybe they only have D2 eligibility left, or they're too old to go D1, whatever it is, you're pulling in some kids that are doing some pretty crazy things.
Yeah.
That top 10, top 5, top 15, and across all divisions. So, and again, some of the best track in the U.S. is JUCO track too. Junior college track. I mean, NEI is pushing out some great stuff every year. So, yeah, I mean, at every level, it's just getting faster and faster. And eventually, it hits, you know, the technology and the shoes and all that kind of stuff. Like, it certainly helps for a certain amount of time. But I don't know. Well, it's going to have to hit a breaking point at some point, but
Yeah.
we'll see how far you can keep pushing it,
Yeah.
So yeah, so you keep it in perspective. I mean, you look some of the best D2 programs in the 80s and the 90s and all that. It's like, man, they did some crazy, crazy things. But then you look at what it took to be successful back then. But then they didn't have as nice a tracks, or they didn't have as crazy a shoe technology, um, and maybe there was less schools that were at a high level. So yeah, there's just a lot of things to factor in. But no matter what, it's just getting talented and motivated kids, and man, you got to coach
Yeah.
them for sure.
Yeah.
So.
On that side, how do you um how do you introduce technology? Like, what kind of things are you using at your facilities? Like, I know, everyone's using Freelap and 1080 and Dynaspeed and jump mats and all types of different things. So, like, what kind of things are you using to supplement your coaching?
Yeah, I mean, so it's I've tried to make it just things that I know I can actually utilize numbers, or else you're just kind of doing stuff to do stuff. So I've always had a Brower timing system, two of those systems, so I had enough to do like 10-meter splits in 30 flies, and just get some more like specific data out of our testing. Obviously the timing apps, like the Dartfishes and the OnForm and that kind of stuff, and Coach's Eye back in the day, like that was kind of, I guess, more my era. Those started to become pretty popular when I started coaching. So, diving into those and just understanding the functionality and just using the timers and using all that kind of stuff to get the different things that we need for just doing a basic strat analysis or something like that. Just finally this year, I got a Freelap as well, which has been useful. I have the new Motion X chip, so it gives you some of that data instantaneously. But I think it's also important to have kind of the eye behind the coach as well to understand. Okay, these numbers are this one was a botched rep or something, like these numbers are way off. So you still need to be able to do the manual side of things. But again, I think in coaching there's different eras, like in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Like to do strat analysis when you didn't have those. you'd be counting frames on like a VHS or like an old tape, or it was like putting butcher paper down and having the athlete run across it and measuring the actual leg stuff. And it's interesting because it's still kind of talked about in some of the newest like level twos, level threes, all that. But it's like, hey, we don't necessarily need that butcher paper. I mean, you can still do it, but you can do that in 3-4 minutes now in a timing app. So you just got to learn
Yeah.
how to do that and understand how to do that, and then what do you do with those numbers? Then you got to utilize that and go from there. So I've made it pretty good just with having a Brower and having a Freelap, and obviously those are big investments. Don't get me wrong, but I with the size of my groups and everything, having a 1080, having some of the Dynaspeed stuff, like yeah, it'd be cool. But if I had one 1080 and I had you know 50 athletes that I roll through 4 different practices, I hook one up at a time. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that would be as beneficial. But yeah, I mean, I think we've gotten a lot done with having some of the timing stuff to give us some more data that we can use. And obviously you have the jump plates and all that stuff down the weight room and whatnot. But yeah, I would say we probably try to keep it as simple as possible because I want to make sure any money that we're using for technology is useful stuff and not just, hey, we have a 1080 and we use it every once in a while. So yeah, I guess that's where I'm at with it. Things I would like, I mean, would it be nice some of the functionality of dialing in some of the resistances with the different resisted stuff, whether it's the Apex or the Dynaspeeds or whatever? Like, yeah, but you know, um, in my environment with bigger numbers, then I don't know how useful it is. I guess for me.
Yeah.
So we'll see
Yeah.
though.
And like I've been tracking some data along the same lines as you because I got the 133s from you.
Oh
Uh,
shit. Well, I
so
got them from a bunch of other people, so that's good. Yeah. Well, and even tracking stuff like that, even doing just different, different sims of, the 133, and just giving yourself some data just to track over time. Even something as simple as I used to try to use the Brower a little bit more. We do like, okay, we're gonna do some 120 speed endurance type runs. I'm gonna split it into 40-meter segments so I can kind of see, where we're falling off, how we're falling off. Trying to just put 30 flies within certain reps to kind of see what velocities we're at. So that's why I originally wanted a free lab, because it's a little bit easier to do with more groups of athletes wearing the chips versus the Brower is a phenomenal setup, but it's sending one person at a time kind of a thing.
yeah.
So I mean, we're using the free lap for touchdown times and hurdling. So it's been very useful. But I remember when I started just even doing touchdown times with a watch. It was just kind of understanding. Okay, these are important things to do, and it's not just, hey, go watch a rep and give them some feedback based off what you saw. I mean, it gives you some things to add in and utilize with them so that they can you know start understanding the events as well. So I think the more and more your kids learn and buy into their event, I mean, I think it's only a positive in the grand scheme of things. Of if an athlete's at the high conference or national level, like, they should be pretty knowledgeable in their event at that point, or how to make adjustments, or when to make adjustments, or whatever it is. At least that's my opinion. So
Yeah. Um, I just want to thank you again. This has been awesome. I don't want to hold you too long, and you got the holiday coming up tomorrow and stuff. I know everyone's busy. So I just want to thank you again so much for being on.
yeah,
I'm excited to see what you guys do this year because it feels like every year you guys are just winning. So,
yeah, we
uh,
got some monsters here. So I got some surprises coming, which I think will be a lot of fun. So
there we go. I hope one day that I can send somebody out there because I know they'll be in good hands.
hey,
That's a goal of mine. So I feel like it's my duty with building this platform to build as many relationships as I can,
yeah.
um, and find some good places. So hopefully, when I get some kids that are qualified to go to these schools,
Mhm.
again, I'll know that they're well taken care of. So
Yeah, no, man. I mean, your area has done some phenomenal stuff in track for sure, and between our football team and us and our basketball squad, I mean, we got a lot of people from kind of all over that area. Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, all those places. So, Wisconsin. I mean, so it's yeah. Just keep me in the loop, man. But
yes, sir.
time when they're fast enough, we're gonna know about them anyway. So,
Yes, sir.
what it is. But no, I appreciate the time too, and I appreciate you having on. having me on for sure.
Thank you so much. It's UrAvgCoach. I'm out. Dude, thank you so much for your time, man. I really do appreciate it.
No, for
That was
sure.
awesome.
Yeah, let me know if.
Yo,
I mean, be ready to be blown away.
UrAvgCoach podcast. Tune in, baby.